Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I have a feeling that today is going to be a whole lot of things that you probably didn't know that you signed up for. Our special guest today is Dionna. Again, I did say that correctly, right?
Dionna.
Dionna. Fuck. I knew I was going to do that. I'm dropping the F bomb right away. Um, for those of you who know us, you know how we are. If we're not your cup of tea, then be on your way. But I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us what you do, what you love, what you hate, what you don't love, and then we can just dive in.
Yeah, I'd love to. So first off, thanks for having me on today. I'm very excited. Just in the few moments that we shared before you hit record, I know this is going to be a very spicy conversation. My name is Dionna Chambers. I'm an intuitive business coach and strategist. I'm based here in Los Angeles. I'm a single mom. I have a beautiful son called Zen. He's 6.5, and my teacher in every way. I have a very quintessential, very multi-faceted career. Obviously, I'm a manifesting generator, so I've had 3 careers already in this lifetime. So I'm a former entertainer, model, actor, TV host, turned marketer, turned business coach. So, and I don't think that's even covering all of it, but those are the main ones. So I have a plethora of experience that I bring to my community, my clients, and I'm just so excited to really land it in purpose. And I call this chapter of my life spiritual obedience because I've really fought being a coach for unofficially a decade, but officially I fought it for about 5 years. So I'm here in obedience, and I'm excited because it's like I'm just getting started, even though I've been on this journey for a long time. So again, happy to be on today and dive right in.
Oh,
So
man.
so many topics. I'm like, where did we start? I guess I would start with through those career paths, through that career journey as a leader, like what were some of the things that you did to help you kind of make those decisions to pivot when you needed to, or when you felt like, okay, this is no longer in alignment? Because some of us go and we continue to do the things until it smacks us in the face. And then we make the decision to make the change. Or some of us can really tap in, listen, make the decision, pivot, even though we don't know how it's going to work out.
So I would say I did that more recently, where I allowed myself to pivot. It was still a bit of a slap in the face and a struggle, but not to the extent of the other pivots. And I have experienced a lot of compounded acute trauma in this life. So I knew better this last time around that I was like, okay, girl, you're either gonna go around the mountain again, or we can actually listen and decide to drop all the way into leadership in the form of coaching. And so this last time, I will say, was a little better. Which is why I really proclaim spiritual obedience. The other pivots were not pretty. They were definitely knock down, several dark nights of the soul on top of each other, and full surrender from the universe before I was like, okay, fine, fine. So that's the answer to that question.
I
Yeah, I think
mean, we've both been there.
we've both been there a few times, and it's always interesting to talk about like the dark night of the soul, because I always thought you only just had one, and then I'm like, oh, there are multiple ones, and some of them are mini ones, and some of them are huge ones, and then you mix astrology on top of that, along with trauma, along with everything else, and it seems like for me personally that now the dark night of the soul is like, oh, I know what's coming, so I can kind of navigate it a little bit easier, and I have tools that I
Yeah,
also can utilize. So
right.
question, what are some tools for those that are going through the dark night of the soul that you would suggest?
I love that question. Tools for navigating the dark night of the soul. Really, I think number one, just like it's a very general step, but it's surrender. The sooner you can surrender to the contrast that's coming up, the easier it will be. Secondly, you literally cannot do this alone. So that could look like a team of people, like a therapist, a coach, a shaman, a healer, or it could look like one of those at a time. You definitely need support though, I will say that. And then thirdly, it's really being comfortable with sitting with yourself, really sitting in the silence, really looking at the things that distract you from sitting in silence will absolutely sort of I don't want to say expedite, but it will bridge that gap a little bit quicker, I find, right? Like actually being able to put your phone down, actually being able to find time to be alone is really, really important on this journey. You do need to have your proper hermit mode. I think a lot of people are, the thing they're most afraid of is sitting in their own shadow. And so they, even the most advanced people, their egos are so advanced as well, they still will bypass the most important part, which is to actually sit in it. And I still do that. I still get humbled on my journey when I can see that my ego is so sophisticated that I'm like, oh no, girl, you just need to sit down. And I don't want to. So I think that for sure is like number 3, which is like get comfortable sitting with yourself. Do not rely on outside support to do your healing work for you. It's there as a guide. They're there to support you. But at the end of the day, you need to do the work. Like no one's going to do it for you. Not your partner, not your friends, not your shaman, not your medicine ceremony. It's you.
I think that's a great place to pick up too, like with the whole medicine ceremony, right? Like we've both been to ayahuasca ceremonies. And I read something super interesting the other day. It's like ayahuasca or plant medicine is not the thing that heals you. It's essentially the thing that shoves everything into your face that needs to be looked at. And then you get to choose from there. Like, do I step in? Do I lean in? Do I actually do the work? Or am I just gonna go back? So it kind of amazes me when people are like, oh, I've done ayahuasca 37 times. I'm like, you did what?
Oh, so you're using the medicine to bypass your trauma. Oh, cute. I love that for you. I've been in therapy. I'm like, how's that working out? Still doing the same patterns? Shocker.
Yeah, that's the thing. And I would love to get your perspective on that too, of like of the bypassing, because I know we're almost like too the spiritual community now is under a lot. I feel like it's under a lot of scrutiny because you've got the whole like, I don't say this with disrespect, but the people who are like love and light. And it's like, oh, are you bypassing? Is that why you say love and light? That's kind of like a key phrase for me now to listen into people. I'm like, oh, okay, what we got going on here?
I am a master of words. So in all of my coaching containers, I'm very big on people watching their language. So one of the ways I do my best to be of integrity in my work and even on podcasts like this is to watch my words, because I feel like that is something that we overlook a lot, even in, especially in the spiritual community, which is interesting because you would think of all people we would be better at that. But for me, that's how I can intuitively feel into if someone is being authentic or not, how they speak, the energy they hold, the way they hold their body. I can tell a lot, right? So love and light is like, yeah, I mean, that's definitely one way to be like, yeah, that's bullshit. Cool. Like superficial, got it. That's where you're at. No, like cool, right? And like that, you're not my tribe. And another, I think, indication is just admitting when you're wrong, admitting when you've made a misstep, admitting when you might be out of integrity. Like that's probably the biggest one for me to be able to cut through the noise to see who I want to align myself with. That's really important to me, like especially given the current times. And like we are going to make mistakes. We might in the moment feel like, yeah, this is a juicy post, I'm going to post it, and then later be like, yeah, maybe that was a little harsh, right? Like we're not going to get it perfect, but I think that humility is like really where I respect people in the space, right? It's like being able to understand like maybe that wasn't the best thing. Like, yes, in the end, it all works out, but you know, whatever, it's all working out for my highest good. And that's true, but we're still human and we're still going to make mistakes. And I think if we could be better as a community to let our own ego go and to showcase that to the world, like that's how we lead. That's how we bring in the quote unquote new earth, is by humility, like honestly. And that's also leadership, like take spirituality out of it. Like I think the best leaders are the ones who know how to take the L, right? And like, and talk about it.
Yeah. And sometimes the L is actually a W and it's a win in
That's
the
right.
grand scheme of things.
That's right. Exactly. But I think in the moment, just like the humility of people seeing that you're
Yeah.
human, right? Is like kind of why I say it like that. But you're absolutely exactly 100% it's the W, because we are like a diamond, right? Under pressure. So all the crap we've been through is how we've now landed these beautiful diamonds that get to lead and like shine our light across the world, right? And penetrate. It's because of all of that, like the perceived failure, the perceived losses that have all just been to refine us even further.
Yeah, and I also think like it's kind of going back to like the sitting with the self. that's also part of making the diamond, right? Is to be able to sit in that space. And we always say in our business, like, we'll go as deep and as wide as you want to go as a client. And it's because we've also sat there and we've faced the deepest and the, the shadow parts of yourself that you don't want to face. And like the avoidance, it has been strong. You can ask Julie how many times I've avoided shit and had to bring my ass back down. And as leaders, especially in the spiritual community, I don't feel like it's talked enough about sitting with it. And it's more, oh, we'll go meditate, or oh, go do this, or oh, go do that. And then when you have people that have been programmed like me, where it's high performer, so we're doing all the time. And now we get to learn and unlearn the doing, like stop doing and just be. So I'd love to hear your perspective on, I can see that landed, but go ahead.
Woo. I just have to take a breath on that one. That has been, geez, I don't even know where to start. Let me just take a breath. Yes, I fully believe like our collective wound as spiritual mystics, especially those who identify as being a woman, like our work right now as a collective is to be. It's the feminine embodiment that is like our challenge. Because a lot of us,
I feel like I'm being called to the carpet.
you are, right? I'm calling
like
myself out.
30 minutes, right?
I'm calling you out. I'm calling myself out. It's something that I sat with this entire week that I was so fucking pissed. Because every day, like literally from Monday night, this is Friday now, right? I've been in this portal for the last 4 days, doing 40% of my normal amount of work. And I'm cringing right now because I was like, I've been in this activation. And I'm like, why is this happening right now? Like, I've been doing so good. I'm on a roll. And that was a lesson. It was like, no, like you're doing too much. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm just getting started. I'm about to do 2 more launches. Like, I'm literally fighting with the universe the entire week. And these activations were somatic. So it was like, I was trying to move and my body was like, no. And I'm like, all right. Okay. And I'm like calling in my one right now as well. So like, it was definitely a divine masculine, like surrender moment of like, hey, you say you're ready. I see you're ready now. And this is the last little bit. Like, you're going to sit your ass down all week. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. What if you leave me? I need to be able to have my shit together so I can like, be a badass bitch. And it was like, no, you need to sit down. So like, I feel like that's what's happening collectively though. Cause I feel like I'm not the only woman that's talking about this in this space. We are the most powerful mystics when we are in our feminine, when we are in the receptive mode. It's not when we're doing the most. It feels good for our ego, but it's actually not our most powerful state.
Yeah.
And this is why I showed up to this call today. So for those who don't know, a part of the conversation that we had before this was Emily and I just had a partnership that ended yesterday. And I'm rough around it. I'm moving through it really fucking rough. And it's hitting me really hard personally. And a lot of times I can be okay to move through it and to move on, but this one just feels so personal, and it's emotionally bringing up a lot. And it hurts because I love this person to death. I love them to fucking death. But as we were talking before the call, like everything we're working on, it just keeps getting blocked and keeps stopping and keeps like not having anywhere near the results that we all see coming in. And it's like, okay, the universe is trying to fucking tell us something. The universe is trying to tell us that this is not it. And the Taurus in me wants to be like, Cancer, shut your emotional ass up and let's go. Let's get to work. We have things to do, right? Like I just want to push through and move on. And Emily's been fantastic. Because you probably don't know this, but we're also best friends. So she's like in the work chat, like, hey, if you need support, if you need to not be on the podcast today, like I've got this, I'll roll with it.
I was getting soulmate energy for sure. So
yeah.
like, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I'm on here, but they obviously have been doing multiple lives together. So I love this.
Yeah. But like, and then text wise too, she's like, hey, whatever you need, like I'm here to support if you need to vent, if you need, hold space, whatever. And I'm just like, okay, yeah. She's like, if you don't want to show up to the podcast today, like I got this on my own. I'm like, no, I'm gonna be there. Like the podcast is my baby. I love it. But like this is why I knew that I needed to be here today, was for this conversation.
So also, that your emotions and your tears are purifying, and they invite like like you crying, Julie invites your best friend in, and it also provides healing for her. And I feel like when we withhold our feminine magic, it's kind of a selfish act that we don't, it's a subconscious selfish act, because those tears are the medicine. And not from a wounded feminine perspective where you're, manipulating with emotion, but where you're genuinely vulnerably saying, okay, I surrender. Like this really hurts. There's something so beautiful about that invitation that you make for those around you, not just the women in your life, but the men too. Men automatically feel activated to provide provision when we are in our vulnerability. And I feel like something else coming up as you talk is the fact that a lot of us in our kind of wounded feminine, even in our wounded masculine, we try to control everything. We try to control timelines and how things go. And it pushes away the exact thing that we're really desiring from our hearts. And that's also what's coming up for me too in my surrender is like, hey, like, this is why you're still where you're at, because you refuse to let it go. Like, just let it down. Let the guard down. And provision doesn't have to just come from a man, but it's coming from the masculine energy, like however that may look, right? Like, that's our deepest desire. That's why we incarnated as women. It wasn't so that we could do, it was so that we could sit down and receive. Otherwise, we would have incarnated as men. Like, hello. So, right, like it's funny, I always get payments when I'm literally doing anything other than coaching or building funnels. I get payments when I wake up in the morning, when I'm going to an event that I really want to go to, when I'm on a walk with my son. 90% of the time, that is when money comes in, like a payment from a client. You think I'd like get the lesson now, right? Like, just sit down,
But I think that, it sounds so simple, but it's not so easy. And I will say, just from even being a solo single parent, the constant on button that you're on and the doing, that put a whole other layer for me. I have 2 boys, and now that they're older, I'm like, like I can breathe. But I can
I have a
also
son too.
yeah, I could also see where, had I had the awareness when they were small, I wouldn't have had all these expectations on myself to try and be both parents, because their dad's not in the picture. But if I'd have released those expectations, but again, the conditioning of the world and the conditioning of everything else piled that up, and then we have to be like we have to do, and it's just like, well, when am I going to find time just to be? And now I'm learning even parts of that, and different parts as they get older. They're more sufficient, and it's just like, okay, this is odd. I feel like I should be like starting another project or something. Like, and I had a conversation this morning with one of my friends. She goes, can you just not sit your ass down or go enjoy life? Like, go to the beach. You live in Florida. Like, go to the beach. And I'm like, okay, you're right.
I love that, like, everyone on this call right now is having this full circle. Like, sit down. If everyone who's listening, the theme, this should be called sit down. This is what this episode is called. I actually want to tell you a story really quick about what you just said, because I'm also a solo parent and I co-parent. I'm so grateful that my son's father is in the picture and we have a beautiful friendship. And it took a lot of work on both of our ends to get here. So that's why I say it that way. I'm very grateful and could cry because of how much we've moved through, like together, separately. It's taken a really long time to get here. So I'm really grateful that I have him as a friend. And like, obviously he's flawed and I'm flawed and we're not meant to be romantic lovers, but we are really good friends and we have each other's back as co-parents. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing to have. And yesterday we switched days and he came to grab my son's iPad and I noticed how my son's energy shifted by being with his dad. And it was a great reminder of like, I only need to be his mom. I don't need to be his dad too. And my son came in and he's like, hey, mommy, like, it's so nice to see you. He's like, wow, you look so beautiful. And he's like, and he hugged me and he's like, I love you, mommy. And I noticed that he was doing that because his dad was holding the masculine space. And he acts very different when he's just with me, right? And I feel like I have to hold both. But what I saw in that moment was the masculine held the space for him to just be with mommy. And all I had to do in that moment was receive. So it was just like this beautiful reminder of like, that is what we get to be doing every day. Not trying to be both. Our only job is to be their mom, even if we're solo parents. Now we still get to set boundaries and do all those other beautiful things, but we're not their dad and we'll never be. And I feel like that is like such a full circle moment for me. And I did not know I was going to go into this, but I wanted to share that because it was a reminder of like, wow, like, oh yeah, he has a dad. I don't have to do that. And every time I call him and ask for support, if it is something where I feel like I don't have the capacity or the bandwidth, his dad steps up and he shows me it's safe. Even though we're not together anymore, I'm learning still 10 years in of having this man in my life that even though we're not together anymore, he can still show up for me as the masculine and hold the space when I need it. Because sometimes I need it. And maybe that's not your kid's dad, but maybe it's someone else. Maybe it's like an uncle or a friend or a brother, like, right? Like, but that's available for you. Are you willing to receive it?
And amen. I will tell you, I have some amazing healthy males that are on speed dial. Hey, I just need to understand these teenage boys. Do you have 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And then it's like, then they can paint back what I can't see or what I'm not aware of and hold that space. And that, by all means, I'm telling you, was a huge game changer for me. Yeah. Yeah. It takes both sides.
It does. And I think just letting go of the pressure, a good mentor of mine said, Dionna, your job is not to teach Zen how to treat all women, like take the pressure off. Your only job is to teach your son how to treat you.
Yep.
And I was like, like that changed everything for me. I was like, wow, like it's such a simple reminder, but it's so true. Like our only job with our boys is to teach them how to treat us.
And then when they get to dating age, because we are there in this household, which is kind of odd, but we're there, you will see how you have taught them how to treat you. Because the way my boys date these girls, I'm like, okay, I'm impressed. We are being intentional. Like, we know the color of the flowers, we know the hobbies, we know, oh, she actually likes this scent, she wants this, and like, oh, and when after through the date, like I held the door open, I purchased like all these things. I'm like, okay, we made it here. Like, but it is very true. They also treat me with that way, like with the respect. And it's not like I don't put myself up here as a parent. We're all in the same playing field. We are all souls here learning from each other.
That part.
It's
That
so
part.
beautiful and interesting to see their interaction too, because like Emily's youngest is like, this boy could be a politician or he could be a shaman or he could be like, I don't like, you just never know with him. And he's so intuitive and so incredible. I have the deepest soul conversations with this child. And then the oldest is like completely different. And we fight and argue like brother and sister.
I actually love that. Yeah, I feel like as a healer and as healers and empaths, like one of our kids is for sure gonna be like the shaman. Like that's like a non-negotiable. I think we all birth at least one shaman that like their soul like knows more than our soul. Like I can already see my son's just like the first biggest lesson was he didn't speak till 3.5. And he was speaking light language straight up. Not gonna lie. And I was fighting it. I was like, you need to be speaking English. Like this is what we're doing. And I look back now and I'm just like, damn. Like he's just already, I mean, really brought me to my knees and surrender. So like so many times, right? Like it's such a humbling experience to be a parent and an honor that like they just show you every day, like where you get to go in yourself.
Absolutely. And it's also interesting, like the amount of growth that we can get from them just by learning, right? To be able to see, I can't even begin to tell you the amount of growth that parenting has taught me in so many ways. Some was very in your face type, like literally my youngest being like, you are doing way too much. Like he literally said, just stop, you're doing way too much. And when he said that, I was like, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, we love you. Like, you don't have to do both. And they were like the biggest catalyst, like they taught me unconditional love because it didn't matter. Like,
Yeah, they don't care how you look, if you've gained weight, if you've lost weight, if you have stinky breath in the morning, if you farted, like, it's like they'll joke about it with you, but like your boys, ride or die to the end. Are you kidding me?
but I think like more people, like the more we have these conversations too, it's like this is the next generation of leaders. And the more that we can teach and educate our children, and then also seeing how they make an impact in their worlds, and seeing like them go to school, and now they're starting to, like, my youngest goes to school, and in their choir he leads meditation before choir. They've never meditated ever in that class. And so now he's leading, meditation. They're getting ready to go to Spain and travel all over for their music. And to be able to lead meditation, to be able to, like, he's like the shaman of the group. And I'm sitting here like,
So beautiful. I'd be like crying.
but he sees it, he's just such a different soul, and the way he sees things, it is so different. We'll have these conversations. I'll be like, well, that was stupid. He goes, no, mom, listen, it's this perspective. And then he'll teach me a different perspective, where if I was still stuck in the mindset of I know everything, I wouldn't be able to learn the other side of the perspective.
Yeah.
And as though as the new earth comes, like, we get to have these conversations with our children, and we get to learn from our children too. So I'd love to hear just from your perspective, like, what are some of the parenting tips you would give for new parents or parents that are trying to shift?
Oh gosh. I like feel like I'm vastly underqualified to answer this question.
Or can I ask you two questions before you answer?
Yeah.
Like, are you a parent?
Yes.
Okay. Do you lead from your soul? Do you lead with integrity in your
Yes.
life? Then you're qualified.
Thank you. I'm sure you can relate. And I'm like, I love that I'm feeling emotional today. This is beautiful. It's like really hard to be a mom. And I think like every day you're asking, like, how am I fucking this up? And I think that's like what's coming up for me. And I'm owning that. Um, and I'm also so grateful that I'm a mom. Like Zen has been like such a gift for me. Like yesterday, like every day there's like something I'm learning. Every day there is like deeper I get to go within myself and in our relationship and how I show up in the world. So maybe to answer your question, that's it. Like I think the more that you can just infuse curiosity into parenting, I think the better it's going to be, like long term, for both people, is in curiosity and humility. Breath, I breathe so much. I breathe a lot. I separate myself when I feel I'm dysregulated. I communicate my dysregulation. Those things have really helped our relationship, even at 6.5. I let him know when I'm overwhelmed. I think that's really helped as he's getting older, and he knows, like he can sense it, or he'll like come in and bring me something like a water. Like one time he tried to make an ice bowl because he saw me do it one time to like, shock my nervous system with contrast therapy. And so, yeah, I think like just really leaning into communicating honestly is one of the biggest things that's helped me as a mom that I would love to share with your audience. And curiosity, being okay to pivot, like being okay to drop your work and just go be with them and do fun things. Like all these things are like some recent breakthroughs I'm having as a mom and as a single mom. And then asking for help, ask for support if you need.
Asking for help.
Yeah.
I remember I'll just share this. There was a time that when I think I needed support or something with one of the boys, and I had the hardest time even asking Julie to like go pick them up, because it was so ingrained that no, you don't ask for support because of the world, like the society's like, oh, single moms can't make it. Like when I became a single mom, all I heard is like, you're not gonna make it. Like my ex, like everybody told me that,
Like,
right?
why are you doing that? Why are you leaving? You should just stay and work it out. I was like, I don't want to work it out. The fucking relationship is over. Like, stop. I've made my decision. Like, isn't that baffles me? So like, I understand you're projecting your own trauma, your own insecurity, your lack of courage on me right now, straight up. But that's not my shit. then I'm leaving and I'm going to figure it out. And it might be hard, but I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you said, it's like, but we can't do it alone at the end of the day.
And being open to receive support. And even though I was like, I trust her with my life and my boys' life, right? Like, but it was so hard for me to allow it. And then when I did allow it, I'm like, ooh, then it kind of was like this, well, what if they like her better than me? And I was like, whoa, like sit your ass down real quick. Because I'm like, they were like, my boys are like my everything, right? And then one of my friends had told me that your children are actually not yours. They're just here. Like you don't own your children. Like they're here to help you grow. And I was like, wait a minute. That was like a game changer for me. For some reason that clicked. And then when I did open up and allow support, it was so amazing to also see how healthy mentors came in for the boys. Like just setting the intention and boom, they had
Called it
help.
in.
Yeah.
100%.
And now it's like, wow. And so now I've started using the language with my boys when they don't do their chores. Probably one of my biggest pet peeves that I've been working around. And I started saying, you know, I'll put it in the group chat of like, I would love some support. And what support looks like for mom is XYZ.
I love that.
And so
we're not da-da-da and you don't get this if you don't do that. I know, it's like, it's such an easy go-to.
I want to be like, do your fucking chores for the 40th time.
Take the trash out.
But I go back to like the communication aspect and it's like, oh, so when I communicate, hey, I would love support. This is what it looks like. But then if I look at where I've learned that communication, it was actually building this business with Julie because we had to learn how to communicate with each other. Because if not, we were just triggering each other. We'd be like, because I'm a manifester by human design. So I can be very tornado-ish when it's working a sprint. We are in a sprint. Fuck everything else. Like that's how I move.
I'm like, let's go. I have no time for anything else. I'm on the prize. Let's go.
And everything's on fire. Like everything has got to be done right now.
Manifestors and man-gens were like, yeah, I got the chaos.
And I'm a projector. So I'm like,
oh, so it's a lot for you. You're like, just chill.
I'm like, it's not that deep. It'll be okay.
Like, we said that we're launching on Monday. Like, where are the graphics? It's Friday. Where's the deck? Like, hello.
Yeah. So, but we've had to learn how to communicate and the communication styles. And human design was one of the biggest things that helped us learn that. But then when I've learned in communication with me and Julie, and business partnership is just like a marriage. Like it's very much that. And I always joke she's just prepping me for my partner that's gonna come.
Well, I don't want to put you off, but I'm like I'm channeling now.
Go ahead.
And I'm like, wait, there's someone coming in. Like, can we talk about that person? Can we pivot? Because I was like, it's giving you
pivot. Let's do that.
And it's giving you need to let go and release and surrender. Because like this person is like, hello, I'm ready. And I'm mirroring this, but I could feel him. Like, I don't know, I could feel it. Like midway through our conversation, I was like, when do I bring this up? Like,
when do I bring it up? Where's my in? Where's my in?
I feel like she's dancing around this and she knows I'm going to like, just be like, bam. She's dancing around it with all this like, oh, like I have 2 boys. I'm a badass. I'm like, bro, we know that. But also sit down. Stop trying to do all of it. You're not supposed to. You're literally in the season of
you know, that's really interesting that we're even having this conversation that came through because I literally sat on the couch last night after coming home from a networking event. I was like, yeah, fuck dating. Like, I don't need dating. Like, I'm just going to build. Like, I'm just going in build mode. And then one of my guy friends, I had a conversation with him. He goes, who you trying to lie to? When I told him that, he goes, you lying. He goes, go sit down.
Yeah, because okay, so first of all, like your divine masculine is like ready to go. Like I can feel it, and you're doing all this like it's the final hour, right? So you're like, I don't need like this is what happens. Your ego just comes up like we gotta stay safe. But I feel like your lesson really is to sit down because you're not gonna need a date. Like it's the same that people are channeling for me. Like we're mirroring that in each other, but like, you're not going to need a date because he's going to come in like day one and be like, let's go.
We will keep you updated.
Do you see the response though? Like, it's so visceral because your body knows that what I'm saying is true for you.
Mhm.
He's like, okay, let's go.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Her
Like,
body knows, we know, like it's not a secret.
her inner child right now is so cute. I love this. She's like, oh my God.
I had felt it for a while, but I think like again, it goes back to the conditioning of just staying busy because it's safe, it's easy.
But you push him away that way. Like, you know, you delay the union when you do that, right? So it's like, instead of that, like, instead of fuck dating, it's like, I'm ready to receive. Because you're not just receiving your partner, you're receiving like a whole new level of abundance that's going to unlock in your business. So it's like, how do you have to understand
Bitch, sit your ass down.
money and love are literally the same frequency, right? So, and I'm talking to myself, by the way. It's like, so like when we sit down, we're saying, hey, I'm open now for the next level of my life. It's not just about this person. They're just you in a body that's a man. Hello. I'm saying yes to receiving this next level of support that like also you need, like you need it. Like you're ready. You pass all the tests. It's here. Right? So it's like, it's even just like watching your words. I'm watching my words too. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to receive.
Yeah, kind of goes back to this I think it's been this past week where I've just been walking around like, yeah, I don't know how, but I know it's here and
You
it's
don't even need,
happening.
yeah, you
So
don't need to. It's just like, how can you, like my friend told me this yesterday. She's like, girl, you should start walking around naked. Get ready. Just like he's there watching. Walk around naked, get your silk robe on, put some lingerie on, cook for two when your boys are out or whatever. Like, I was like, you're right. Like, you know, go to sleep. He's there next to you. Like, this is how you activate it. Like, you are a manifester. You're so good at this. And so your ego is like one last attempt is to stop you from getting what you truly desire. That's going to unlock a whole nother level for you. And so all you have to do right now is be like, I understand you're trying to keep me safe. It's okay for us to receive. And it's like, watch how fast, like 3-4 days, watch, like, bam.
Okay. You know,
You
meet
know,
us in
that's my
retrograde.
psychic reading for you. I got you. We didn't think we were going to go there in this call, did we?
As soon as you said I might get my tarot cards, I'm like, yes, please do it. Like,
I didn't get them. I don't even need them. Like, this is an active channel. Right. And it's like, you have been calling each other in. You've done all this work. You built all this up. And like, this is the last thing. Like, you both need each other for this next like purpose, this next unlocking of your purpose. And you're ready. Your boys are old enough now. They're going to be like, Mom, just go enjoy. Like, stop.
oh, they've already told me that multiple times.
Yeah. They know too. They're literally like, their souls have also made a contract with him too. Right. Like, it's so much bigger than just you. Like, all the souls that come together, especially in a beautiful blended aspect, have all made an agreement for what that's going to unlock. So it's like, you know, don't get in the way. Why are you getting in the way?
Got a lot to sort out after this podcast.
a lot to
Take a bath, take Epsom salts.
Might just have to go take a dip in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, how do we just do less? Like, right? Like maybe the rest of the day for like everyone on this call is like, how do we do less?
Oh, listen. Yes, that's
Right?
exactly where it's at.
Do less. Like if it feels good to work on the business, like great. If it doesn't, like don't. Because that's what he's going to require, by the way. He's going to literally require that he is providing for you. So like, you better like start practicing in your body right now. You know, like a divine masculine who is awakened is ready to provide provision in every aspect, spiritually, financially, mentally, like, and he requires that we sit down.
So we will practice sitting down today.
Yes, that is everybody else call, including myself. You know, sit down.
As something just hits the window really loud outside.
Huh?
As you were saying that, something just hit the window outside really loud.
Affirmation, right?
Okay,
Period.
thank you. I hear you.
I love, like, honestly, this episode needs to be called Sit Down.
We will make sure that happens.
The awakening of the divine feminine, the channel, Sit Down.
The sitting down aspect. So how in that case, when we say sitting down, and also like I think one of the things that we have done really good at is already put systems and operations in place so you can sit your ass down and you're not manually doing that. So I know that's like one aspect of it. But what are some things that you have implemented in your business that allow you just to sit down?
Honestly, I have an amazing VA. I'm rescoping her right now because she's just like much bigger than a VA, but I feel like she's been a blessing for me to also learn how to receive because I can just offload like, hey, can you take care of blank? She does a lot of my group admin for my coaching programs. Um, and so I think that's been number one, just like hiring support. I think it's number one. Yeah, systems, obviously. I like kind of being the nitty-gritty of my funnels though. Like I like constantly revising email funnels and trying new things. So I'm not as pressed about that. I just want to make sure that when it comes to the people management aspect, she's been really important for me to be able to feel like I can offload something major and then not do that. Like she'll make slides and decks for me, like things like that, things that like would take me 4 hours, like I don't have to do. So I can go and sit down. So I think that's really big for me is support systems. And then simplifying what I'm doing. Like if that means not launching something on that date or just feeling free to pivot in my business and not being rigid about timelines. And that's again, very divine feminine, right? Like it's very divine feminine to be flexible and pivot and not feel rigidity because I think rigidity in business, especially as a woman, actually repels abundance and repels clients versus pivoting when necessary to call in the right aligned clients. You don't want just any old person working with you, right? Like we work with energy, so it needs to be aligned. In fact, you'll make more money if you're flexible, you're willing to pivot, especially if you feel resistance. It's like a sign that you need to do it. So that's really helped me personally, like recently, is to just do what feels good. Like, does this offer feel good? Great, I'm going to build it out. If it doesn't, I'm not. So I think hopefully that answers the question, but
Yeah, no, we do. We have taught a lot of our clients the same thing, especially when it comes to small businesses of like, where does it feel in your body to start with? Because just saying, it feels good or it doesn't feel good, but no, like, where does it feel in your body?
yeah, like identifying where.
Yeah. And then understanding your decision-making process, because some of us, manifestor, the way I make decisions, I need time. So I won't just make, like, I could feel like really, really good on something, but then maybe in a couple of hours it drops down. And I'm like, okay, so that's my sign of like, I need some time and space to make sure that I'm still aligned and I didn't pick up on someone else's energy while making the
Wow,
decision.
that's
So
so I'm the opposite. Like I love that you do that. I wish I would take that. I get hits as a man gen and I need to, it's like a divine, like I have to do it right there. That
so
makes sense.
it's an immediate action.
Yeah, because then what happens is it catches fire, which is a good thing. And then I call in like the next cycle of people that get to be in my orbit. When I don't act on that, I always pay for it. But even
Okay.
with like relationship, right? Like when I don't act on my intuition, I always pay for it. So it's like when I get that hit for me, what actually is my abundance or vibe killer is to not take action. Isn't that interesting? When you said that, I was
That
like,
is interesting.
so cool that you
Yeah.
look different. Like, you know?
Yeah. Because when we first started the business, oh my goodness, like I had 40,000 different ideas and every one of them was like, oh, this feels good. This feels good. And I was driving Julie like batshit crazy. She probably was cussing under her breath, like, go sit down. Uh,
Projector. So she also like picks up heavily on your energy, right? And so she's like, this is overwhelming. Just make a decision.
It wasn't so much that it was overwhelming, like make a decision. It's more like we need to pick a lane and be able to stay in that lane, right?
Like do it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Totally.
yeah. Because some of the stuff I think we learned, and Emily learned that, like, especially like depending on the group that she's in or the room that she's in, she's picking up stuff for other people, stuff that's not even hers. And she
Yeah.
was eventually able to figure out how to discern, like, oh, this is a really great idea, but it's not for me or it's
Mm.
not for our business, right? So I got to play the filter for a while. I don't really do it very much anymore, I don't feel like. But like she would have a bunch of ideas and she'd be like, okay, you know, can we run through these? Can we see like what's for us and what's not for us? Okay,
I love
cool.
that.
Like,
I feel like actually that's one of my superpowers with my clients because I attract a lot of creatives as well, not just spiritual people, but like creatives, like in art, TV, film, like my old world. And the biggest pain point for them is just like they don't know how to focus on something. And they're like, well, I can do it all. And I was like, yeah, I know. And you're going to be a lot more powerful if you focus, and you can still do those other things in a focused manner. So I'm really good at identifying that in my clients and just people in general. It's one of my superpowers of being like, I'm not telling you that you're not great and that you're not powerful. I'm telling you that you are. And when with focus, right, the results will be even greater than you've ever seen in your life. And I feel like that really speaks to like how I move is like, I get an inclination on an idea, but it's not because I have multiples. Like how I've been able to refine my business model is I get an inclination on one idea. And I know that when it comes in like that, because it's always a download, that I must take action versus like, oh, I'm inspired and I have a new idea for a startup. Like that's not the same thing. So it's like, for me, it's very specific. I've fine-tuned my intuition to be where I can laser focus it now. But that wasn't necessarily even the case 6 months ago or a year. I've been in like several back-to-back activations. And so I'm saying that from like a space of like, hey, this is kind of newer for me. And this is what's working based off of results. It's working to let that download sit, like know that it's mine, and then take action in that in confidence versus chaos. So there's a big difference there.
I love how we all operate differently.
I think it's cool though. I love it because it's like everyone, like I love it. Like Julie's kind of like the center, and like I love how you like need space to kind of like, but you also have like a lot of energy where you execute and it's successful, right? And I'm like, go.
Yeah.
So like that back, I was like,
And I also love that one of the things, I think the biggest thing that I love about our partnership is the fact that I very much like it can be very chaos, and Julie's still like just grounded, and she's like the ground, like the foundation that holds it,
that's
because if not,
horrid. That's horrid.
because if
Yeah.
not, the business would be in 50,000 different directions on flames and in who knows what kind of states.
Understand. I really feel for you. I empathize because I sometimes I feel like it's so weird though. Like I feel like last night I had this epiphany because I went to this event. And I was like, I need the energy of moving though, like to get inspiration. But I'm also in a season where I am really intentionally sitting down and focusing more because it feels really good to ground in my energy of power. But I also realize that I can't just sit down either and be grounded because then I actually lose that creative spark. So just by going out to an event, I was like, oh, I'm alive. So I'm learning how to be a man Jen. Like I'm learning how to sit in the true authenticity of who Dionna is versus fighting against it, which is what I did for 30 plus years. And now I'm like, oh no, what makes me great is I can focus and I still get to be out and give my medicine and interact and mind share with different people to come back and then really know, oh yeah, this is right. This is what I get to do. But when I just try to like be a manifester or just be a projector, like it's like, it doesn't work. Like, I'm like,
this
why don't
is why human design is so crucial. Like we talk to every single one of our clients. We're like, we don't need to know your personal information, but we need you to fill this out and tell us what type you are so we can help you navigate that
I don't
for you.
actually use it in my business like that. I channel, like I'm a seer. So but I think it's important. Like I use astrology too, but I think for me, like for refining my gifts too, has been about trusting my channel. Because that's been like, if you hear like the words I'm using, like trust, confidence, is like going out and forging my own path in this space, is about trusting my channel. And I'm 90% of the time correct, right? Especially if they're like clients I've called in, right? Where it's like, it's helped me a lot. And just being able to, like, when I trust it every single time, I'm right. But because I've questioned it before, it's always led me like, yeah, with a million ideas and not acting on one because I was insecure. Like the underlying root was I'm insecure. I'm not worthy to be paid to do what I do. And all the like stories that came with it. And so now it's like, what I love is like, I'm trusting who I am at the core, and my life is changing in a way that I guess A, I never thought was possible, but B, also feels like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
That makes so much sense. So much sense. You can
I'm
tell,
just-
you can read it on her face, right?
I'm so happy to be here. So grateful.
I have no other words. That's my way of wrapping that up. So I'm just not gonna say anything else. Julie, go ahead. Do you have any last words?
So we typically ask, or I typically ask people, like, is there, and well, I kind of ask just whatever comes in. But if you could do it all over again, what would you change?
Oh, I'm gonna record this because I'm like, that's a good question. Wow. If I could do it all over again, I would, the spiritual aspect, there's two answers. Would say nothing. I would do nothing over again. I would leave it because it's all perfect. And my higher self, like I'm gonna call her 50, like 50-year-old version of me would have just said to believe in myself, to stop questioning my intuition, to stop questioning if I can do it, because I really paid for that in ways that were very painful.
I love that. I love that. What is one piece of advice that you would give to Zen on his 18th birthday?
Have fun. Have fun. Let it be messy. Be smart, be responsible. But like I would just say, like, explore as much as possible and don't overthink it. Like,
I love that too. Okay. Well, maybe last one. Um, what is like the one overarching, if there is like an overarching theme of like one thing when it comes to client work, either an overarching theme that you see with clients or one thing that you're like, oh my God, if they could just see what I see, if they could just listen to me, what would that be?
it's what I always post about. The number one pain point that I feel I attract in clients is they play small and then they just don't take consistent action. Like, it's really that simple. I'm like, if you were to just get up every day and take an action towards one thing for 6 months, your whole life will change. And it doesn't matter what your human design is. It's just a simple commitment to myself that I believe in what I do. I believe in my purpose and my magic, and I'm going to commit to it every single day, not being attached to how it looks, for 6 months.
That's it. That's it right there. That's where we end the show. Perfect. Because you could use that in any area of your life. Doesn't have to be business, right? Like to pick one thing and commit to it every single day, which I can personally attest to that because I'm not the most structured human in the world. There are aspects of me that are structured. It drives Emily fucking nuts. She's like, I just need you to stop being so with the flow.
I mirror that in you. I'm the same. Like I get frustrated with myself too. Like,
yeah. And I now I can see that it's frustrating for her, right? Like the way that she is and the way that like that is innate for her. And I'm like, oh, I get it now. But having like, yeah, sometime in December, I think it was December 22nd, I started reading the book Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. And every day since then, I think I've missed like 2 days.
change your paradigm, change your life. I'm supposed
I
to.
listen to at least one chapter every single day. Maybe I've missed a little bit more than that because when I started running, then I'm very clear on my paradigm now. As soon as something is outside the paradigm, but I wanted it to be in the paradigm. So I listen to it when I walk the dog. But then I noticed when I was running instead, I'm not listening to an audiobook when I'm running.
No, I'm listening to rap music. Like anytime
So,
I'm doing any high intensity shit, I'm listening to rap music. Period. I don't.
so yeah.
People listen to gospel. I'm like, why? I love God, but like, no, I'm getting hyped. What do you mean?
But that was the thing. I was like, oh shit, I have ingrained it into my paradigm that this is when it happens.
Yeah.
So if I don't like walk the dog, if I'm not walking the dog, then I'm not listening to it. And I was like, oh shit. I did listen to it while running the other day and I was like, oh, this isn't that bad. I can do this.
Yes.
Wild, right? Like but the point is like
Yeah,
the
it's the
consistency,
commitment.
right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
When you're
I feel like
showing up consistently.
recommitted to this last wave of like offers in like in November. So April will be 6 months, and I'm excited because I'm like already so like just like, whoa, I can't believe I created all this, but also I can. Because I recommitted in a different way. And like I'm a testament to that. I'm a testament to a lot of different things, right? But I think for me, it wasn't so much of like, because I actually talked to a coach about this who's very blunt in her content. It's great because I'm like, it's like where I get to go even further with my content. But she was just like, I just feel like, are you actually, she asked me, like, are you actually like happy with how you're operating as a man gen? I feel like, you feel more fulfillment based on my experience working with my clients. So like being able to actually work on a couple different things at one time. And it's like, I hear you. But again, just like astrology, like this is not solely who I am, right? I can also acknowledge that at this season, at this current moment, my inner guidance, my higher self is saying, hey, I just need you to focus for a bit. We already know that you've got 3 paths. I've had this reading down with the same coffee reader, our meeting. She's amazing. Her name's Annie. But I've had like 2 readings with her over the course of like 2-3 years. And each reading is like, yeah, there's 3 paths. I know that. I trust my inner guidance. And right now, Deonna's focusing on this one path because this path opens up all the others. So I'll never just focus on one thing. I know that would be a betrayal, and isn't part of growing up and becoming wiser, trusting your own wisdom and not seeking it outside of yourself. Because you know the answer, you always know it, and questioning it is what delays it. It's what pushes away the thing that you want the most.
100%. Thank you so much for coming. This has been fucking amazing. I'm like, oh man, we got taken to church, and then I don't even know what
We
all we
had a
got today, but we got
channel, we had
everything.
a reading.
We got fucking everything. You got some shit you signed up for and some shit you didn't know was coming in, but that's life, right? That's life, that's business. Um, Thank you so, so much for this. This has been fantastic and so magical. Any last words that you would like to share before we sign off?
Yeah, don't stop. Just keep going.
I love that. I love that. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us today, and we'll see you on the next one.